Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello, and thank you for downloading Season 2, Episode 2 of the Sport in Focus show here on Wisp Sports. I'm Chris Stafford, and on this show we take a closer look at a sport. You can find more episodes of this and our other podcasts at the website at wispsports.com, and you can also join in the conversation anytime on our social media channels by following and sharing at Wisp Sports. And before we hear from our guest and the sport in focus on this episode, a word from our sponsors. Dive into summer and enjoy it to the fullest. Cheer on your family Olympians and keep the members of your team diving, swimming, and just having summer fun with Highlands Earache Drops. Highlands wants to make sure your summer fun isn't ruined by ear pain. Highlands Earache Drops provide natural relief from pain, fever, irritability, and occasional sleeplessness associated with earaches. Highlands has been trusted by generations to provide safe homeopathic medicines for everyone in your family. After you've been diagnosed by a physician, try Highlands homeopathic earache drops or tablets. Earache drops are available at CVS stores. To learn more, go to highlands.com/ear. That's HYLANDS, highlands.com/ear. Claims are based on traditional homeopathic medicine, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated. Always read and follow label directions. On this episode, we're going to take a closer look at synchronized skating with Cass Cross, who is a national level synchronized skating coach, and she's also the director of skating for the Team Ashburn Synchronized Skating teams in Virginia. Cass has participated in the sport since 1995, earning many national and international medals with the Colonials Synchronized Skating teams as a member of Team USA. And she's also won 2 national championships with the Esprit de Corps Adult Synchronized Skating team, representing the Hayden Recreation Center FSC. And prior to moving to Northern Virginia, Cass was the assistant coach of the Adrian College Varsity Synchronized Skating and Figure Skating teams in Adrian, Michigan. She's coached synchronized skating teams from the beginner through elite senior levels, so no better person to explain to us the sport of synchronized skating. Cass, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, tell us a little bit about where you're located, Cass, because you're very close to your work, aren't you, really, in Virginia?
Yes, I am. I personally reside in Herndon, Virginia, a suburb, about 15 miles outside of Washington, D.C. And our program is based in Ashburn, Virginia, Loudoun County, about 10, 15 minutes from where I live.
Very convenient for you then. Now, you've been doing this for quite a while. I think you've been in the sport, did I read, something like 25 years?
Yes. I am a lifelong synchronized skater. I joined my first team when I was 8 years old. I started taking learn to skate classes at my local ice arena in a suburb of Boston when I was 5. And a private coach actually approached me saying, I've got this team sport that I think you'd really like. And I went to my first practice and I've been hooked ever since. So I've been involved with the sport for a long time.
So you obviously learned to skate as an individual before you get onto a team. Were teams available to you easily then when you were at that age that you started, Cass?
So the rink that I was taking my learn to skate classes in just had a program there, and I joined their program to just get experience in the sport. And then as I decided that this was kind of what I loved and wanted to pursue, I started looking at other teams in the area who could meet my needs as an athlete in terms of growth and development. So I moved from my original program to a larger scale program in the area.
How popular was the sport then when you were learning?
When I was learning, nobody had any idea what I was doing. At that time, it was actually called precision skating. And in the year 2000, the International Skating Union, in conjunction with US Figure Skating, which are the main governing bodies of our sport internationally and in this country, made the decision to rename the sport as synchronized skating, and primarily changing the name so that it could be translated across languages all over the globe.
And this is predominantly, we should say, a girls' or women's sport, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I would say probably like 95% of participants in synchronized skating are female, but it is a sport that is open to both genders. For example, our team this year has one male athlete, and we're always excited to have and welcome male athletes, but we are predominantly a female sport.
When you think of synchronized swimming, you think of, these kind of team sports and ballet and gymnastics, these appeal to young girls, don't they? What is the appeal of synchronized skating, do you think, to a younger population?
I think in skating, there are so many different paths you can go down, and you can be, a single skater, a pair skater, you could be an ice dancer, you can be a synchronized skater. There's all of these different groups or different avenues within skating to join. And I think what makes synchronized skating, or as we call it, synchro, something that kids really want to join is the team aspect. You get to go out on the ice with your friends. You're not alone. You're working as a group towards a common goal. And being in that group setting from a young age really teaches kids, and myself included, from a young age, how to work with a group, work with others, to achieve a common goal.
And I would imagine you just need the fundamentals as a single skater before you can join a team. What sort of level would you be looking for before you recruit anyone, Cass?
So the wonderful thing about synchronized skating is we really can welcome skaters of all levels and abilities. So if a skater typically we look to take skaters who finish the basic 4 curriculum of the Learn to Skate USA program, which is really like forward crossovers and pumps on a circle, starting to transition to backward skating and things of that nature. But what's nice is US Figure Skating's even set up levels. They now have something called Snowplow Sand Synchro for truly beginning level skaters who are just getting onto the ice for the first time to work in the team setting. And we, Team Ashburn Synchronized Skating, looks to provide opportunities to skaters of all levels.
So talk about the teams through the different levels then and ages, Cass. What's available?
Absolutely. So for this coming season, we are offering a Synchro Skills 1 team, which is our team that's made up of 8 to 16 skaters, but the majority of those skaters need to be under the age of 9. Our Synchro Skills 2 is a team, again, up to 16 skaters under the age of 12. We have a Synchro Skills 3, which is for skaters over the age of 12. And that kind of encompasses our beginning level teams. And then we have more teams that start competing at a little bit higher level where they're attending our sectional championships. So we have a preliminary level for skaters under the age of 12. Our pre-juve team has skaters under the age of 13. And our open juvenile team is skaters that are kind of really starting to make the transition to national level teams, and is a great stepping stone for that. And those skaters, there's a wider age range within that category as well, but our average is about 14 to 15 years old there. And then we have 3 teams that are eligible to qualify for the national championships. We have a juvenile team who last year, for the first time in our program history, qualified for nationals, which was an incredibly exciting moment, not just for the kids and their families, but for our organization as a whole. And all skaters on that team are under the age of 12 and have to pass a required level, what they call moves in the field tests, which are like skills-based assessments to be eligible for that team. And then we also are offering a novice team which again is the progression kind of from a juvenile level, with the majority of the skaters being under the age of 15, with 4 skaters that can be 16 or 17. And then for the first time in a couple years, we're offering a junior level team, which is really exciting. It's the second highest level in synchronized skating. And these skaters primarily are high school aged, and again, have, you know, a skills-based moves in the field test level requirement that they have to achieve to be able to be a member of that team.
How many skaters are on a team typically then, Cass, or does it vary?
So there are minimums and maximums set forth in the rules by our governing bodies. So the minimum number of skaters, and again, it's all dependent kind of on team level, but typically is 12, but can be as small as 8. And then skating, again, typically you'll see teams of 16 on the ice. Some levels do allow you to have 20 skaters skating at one time, but that's become more uncommon in the sport as it's evolved over the years. So typically what you would see is 16 skaters at one time. Teams can carry up to 20 athletes on a team. And so while you have 16 on the ice, you may have 4 skaters who you would see standing on the side who play just as an important role within the team setting as the skaters who are out there. And everybody's working together and pushing each other to improve so that the team can achieve success together.
So what can you change out, do substitute at all? What are the rules for substitution?
So when you're in the moment, unless there were, you know, a serious injury or something of that nature, you wouldn't change a skater out while the program is taking place. And I think that's one of the really hard and exciting things about synchro is you kind of have one shot in one moment to nail it. But then throughout the season, you know, skaters may rotate or change in and out of spots depending on, you know, if their skills are improving, or if we feel a skater is maybe a better fit in a certain program because of the element we're executing or a special skill they have. You know, we're really looking at all of the different kinds of things that skaters bring to the table so that we can make the decision of the strongest 16 skaters to put out there. And those are always, as a coach, the most challenging decisions to make, because we know everybody is working hard, and it's as a coach really challenging to know that you're going to break someone's heart. But it means they care and they're in it, and we always let them know that they're just as valuable as their teammates and appreciated, and that being the cheerleader is just as much of a valued role within our team as it is as being out on the ice.
Yeah, and explain, if you would, then the structure of the sport, Cass, you know, from club level up, and you talked about the nationals there being the ultimate goal. What does that look like from club to elite level, and in terms of the competition structure that we have in this country and indeed globally?
Sure. So as we would start in a normal year, this year is probably going to look a little bit different. But teams put programs together to choreography and music, similar to what you would see from like single skaters and pairs and dance teams on television. We have programs with required elements as well to music. And then usually in the mid-fall, end of October, we begin our competitive season by attending what are called non-qualifying events. So we go to competitions to put our programs out, get feedback from judges, and, you know, on our elements and performance and things of that nature, because we're ultimately really working towards that sectional championship that typically takes place in mid to late January. So we'll attend these non-qualifying competitions, and not all teams around the country do this, kind of throughout October, November, December, and early January, in anticipation of the sectionals at the end of January. From there, typically the top 4 finishers at the sectional championship move on to the national championships. From there, in the junior and senior levels, teams can advance on to the world championships. On top of that, we also have teams that go usually in January and February to international competitions, and will travel throughout Europe. This year, the International Skating Union had the first Challenger Series for synchronized skating, which is something they do offer for singles, pairs, and dance. So this was a really exciting opportunity for our sport. And the U.S. actually hosted the first Challenger Series event in Irvine, California. So there are lots of different opportunities in terms of the competition structure to also compete outside of the national scene.
And in terms of the competition schedule, then normally in a normal year, Cass, what does that look like? What does your season look like?
So we typically would hold tryouts towards the end of March. In April, we begin bringing teams together to do some spring training through April, May, and the beginning part of June. We then give everybody some well-deserved time off in the summer to just recharge, regroup, and mentally and physically get ready for the next part of our season. And then in August is when we start bringing teams back to do choreography, setting programs, so that by the beginning of September, we're ready to start training those programs. And we train for all of September and pretty much all of October. And the training months, I think, are the longest and hardest part of the season because that's really where the work takes place. And then October, November, December, we start our non-qualifying competitions. We then have our big sectional championship in January, and the national championships typically take place the last week of February. And then for us, we wrap up our season with a final end of year awards banquet in early March. But teams moving on to world championships for our highest level, the senior level teams, their world championship is the beginning part of April. So their season gets a little bit longer.
A little bit longer, yes. Now, in terms of the context of the sport, then, is this part of a wider skating program, at competitions, or does it have its own competitions?
We have our own competitions. A few years ago, Synchro was included in the Grand Prix finals in Barcelona, where they kind of held an event of just the free skating programs, which was really exciting for Synchro to be held in that context. But normally we are kind of our own separate little pipeline. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the volume of athletes that are, with each team. And I know that has been a hurdle that we have faced as we've really pushed for Olympic inclusion. And so we, at this moment, have just continued to be kind of on our own path.
Right. And I'm wondering about the media exposure that you have, the sponsorship interest, the fan base. Put that in context, if you would, Cass, compared to single or pairs, figure or dance skating, that sort of thing, the rest of the sport.
Yeah, I think Synchro is still trying to find its way in mainstream media. I definitely think there's been more coverage in recent years, for sure, than when I was growing up. Something for this year, I know NBC Sports was going to broadcast the World Championships broadcast following the conclusion of the event, which was going to be really kind of the first time Synchro was on a major sports network in the US, but unfortunately the event was canceled. So that was an unfortunate moment for Synchro, so to speak, in terms of exposure. There are lots of actually campaigns out there. A large one is called Why Not Synchro, and as we look for Olympic inclusion, and a lot of different media platforms such as Jura Synchro and Get It Called and One Team Movement have really started promoting Synchro out to the general public. But I do still think that we need more exposure just around the world to different audiences to be able to fall in love with our sport.
Well, you mentioned the Olympic inclusion, and I was coming to that. Has the sport ever been a demonstration sport at the Olympics?
Not an official one. I know it hasn't, and I want to make sure that I'm speaking correctly on this, but as far as I know, not an official demonstration sport, but we have participated in exhibitions. I know the Russian national team performed in Sochi, which at the gala performance, which was really exciting. But we've submitted 2 applications for the last 2 Olympics and have been denied both times, unfortunately. However, it was a step in the right direction for our sport. I remember as a young skater myself, people saying we could be in Nagano in '98. And so to know that we're still working towards getting there, and that we've taken these 2 big steps in the last couple of years just shows that, as a community and as our governing bodies are really trying to move this forward to be included in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, isn't it, to
Yes.
get the Olympics in, get included in an Olympic Games. And in terms of where the sport is growing and the opportunities, do you see that exponentially, that improving for girls? Is there an awareness now?
I definitely think there's awareness, especially, in our local ice rinks. There are more and more teams popping up all over the country, which is really exciting. We have teams from Arizona and Florida and Texas, and, we're kind of starting to see this become more prevalent across the country, which is awesome. And it's just another form of a team sport for girls to get involved in. Just like soccer, we're all working hard. We're all focused on a common goal together, trying to improve our skills, be good teammates, be good people. I definitely think we'll continue to see synchro grow in the years to come.
When you said earlier, Cass, that you welcome skaters of all levels to to become synchro skaters, what do they need to know about getting into the sport? Obviously, in terms of equipment, a pair of skates, the right clothes,
Yes.
equipment, which relative to several sports is fairly minimal, isn't it? I mean, what would you pay for a good pair of skates if you were a teenager, for example?
If you were a teenager, it gets a little bit more expensive. And the cost of skates really kind of depends on where you are in your development and what exactly your needs are for your skates. So for example, some of our highest level skaters will require a stiffer boot with special kinds of blades, and those can run over $1,000. But for skaters that are kind of at the beginning level of things, you can pick up a pair of skates, from a sporting goods store, things like that to get you going. And then for us, our coaching staff does a really great job of working with our partnering facility, Ashburn Ice House, to be able to get kids fitted into the correct skates, the correct size as they continue to progress through the levels and just need kind of more like, heavy duty, so to speak, equipment as they progress through their skating.
So the costs are, fairly minimal. Then how would people find out? How would parents find out if their young daughters are interested in taking up the sport?
So there are lots of different ways. We hold exhibitions throughout the year and that are always open to the public, free of cost, for people to come, check it out, see what synchro is. We hold open house events for people to be able to come and try synchro with us, which is, especially for skaters new to the sport, exciting. The idea that you could hold on to somebody while skating is amazing. And they come, they try it, they love it. So keeping an eye on our social media pages, our websites, or our website, teamashburn.org. We are posting information there, especially as we approach March and tryout season, about our opportunities to come and skate with us. And then throughout the year, we're also posting about any live performances that we're giving locally.
Well, it sounds like a fun sport. I know skating myself, it's always fun to hold someone else's hand, isn't it, when you're skating around, and you get a bit braver.
Absolutely. And with synchro, we're moving in shapes, whether it's a circle or, wheel that's a long line or a block with 3 or 4 lines in a row of connected skaters. I would say, like, for me, my favorite element as a skater was always the circle, because you could look across at somebody and see their face, and you have that moment of joy when your eyes are connecting and you realize, like, I'm doing this with you. I think to me, that's one of the best parts of synchro. And I think why I've stayed with it so long is because of the connections and the relationships that I've built with people. I mean, even now I'm still friends with teammates I had over 20 years ago. So it's truly kind of like a lifelong sport that you can take with you, and there's opportunities to continue skating as an adult and in college. So it's a really incredible community to be a part of.
And I'm presuming as director of skating there and as the coach, you determine the music, do you? You choose the music?
So I actually have a staff of, just hired a new coach, so there are 7 of us, and we work within our respective levels. I let each coach chooses the music that they are inspired by and feel would work best for their teams, and then we come together as a whole staff and listen to music and provide feedback and work together to make sure that everything is right. As much as we have a team mentality with the skaters, we feel it's really important as a coaching staff to also be a team ourselves and to support each other, for our skaters to see us supporting each other. So those decisions don't actually all come from me. I want the coaches to feel inspired to create great work. So I give them the freedom to do that.
Oh, that's the fun part, isn't it? Choosing the music.
Yes, and the hardest part, and the kids are in that time right now where it's like, what are we skating to? What are we going to skate to? They want to know, but we keep it a secret until we start choreography. And it's a really exciting moment when we play the music for the first time for them.
I'll bet it is. Yeah, that's great fun. I'll have to come and watch you sometime, Cass.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the length of the program, though, how long is a program typically that you're working toward?
It, again, kind of depends on the level. Like for our beginner level teams, they're anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then for our junior level team, for example, they actually have 2 programs. One is a short technical program that's 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And the free skating program can be no longer than 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
So it's relatively short. I'm sure when you get on the ice after all the preparation, you think, oh gosh, that went past so quickly.
Yes, I would definitely say as a skater, it goes by very quickly. As a coach, it feels like an hour. And I think that's one of the things about this sport being a performance sport, is that you only have that one opportunity to get it right. And I've definitely found the transition from skater to coach challenging, in that, you want to go out there and you want to help them to do their best, but when the door closes, you have to stand there and just watch, and it's really hard.
I bet it is. I bet you have to put your hands in your pockets and brace yourself for that, but enjoy it at the same time. It's hard being on the sidelines, isn't it?
It is. I'm usually squeezing somebody's hand and pacing around and trying to watch and getting excited. And there are so many emotions as a coach, where I think as a skater, you train for those big moments and you learn to be focused. So you just stay in it and you have a job at hand to complete. And we talk a lot about that, focusing on the job. The outcome will be what the outcome will be, but that we always want to leave the ice feeling no regrets and not wanting to change anything. Because that's what you remember as an athlete, whether you leave the sport or you move on in life, you remember those really awesome moments and not necessarily the result.
Yeah. And don't forget to have fun.
Exactly. It's all about the fun. It's why we do what we do. And, I feel really lucky to have an incredible group of skaters in our organizations, and they're incredible families. The parent support that we have, they have their own community within our team. And I truly feel blessed to be able to lead the group of people that we have within our organization.
Is there anything, Cass, that you would like to add to this, that you would like our audience to know about the sport?
I think, hop on YouTube and search synchronized skating. There are some absolutely wonderful and magical performances out there. And if you ever have the opportunity to see it live, I highly recommend making the time to go. It's an amazing feeling when you're watching synchro and a team of 16 skaters is going by you at 20 miles an hour, and you feel that wind kind of go past your face. It's what sucked me into the sport. And so any opportunity to view, please take it. It's an incredible sport. It's beautiful. It has athleticism, artistry, everything that you could want, and most importantly, team.
And a wonderful opportunity for young girls to get into the sport too and stay with it for years to come. Cass, thank you very much for coming on the show and telling us about synchronized skating, or synchro as you call it. And I hope you can all get back on the ice fairly soon here now and enjoy your sport.
My fingers are crossed that we're back on the ice soon. And thank you so much for having me here today and giving me the opportunity to talk about our sport and just skating, and how, like you said, there's such an opportunity for young girls and young women to have a place within synchro. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to talk with you today.
And we will, of course, put a link to the website at teamashburn.org and social media on the show notes accompanying this episode at wispsports.com. Cass, great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the show. Take care.
Thanks. You too, Chris.
And you can find links in our show notes accompanying this episode by going to the website at wispsports.com. Just drop down from the main menu at the top on the Listen tab to Sport in Focus. Thanks again to our sponsors, Highlands Earache Drops. You can find them at highlands.com/ear. You can join in the conversation, as always, by following and sharing on social media at Wisp Sports. And we'd love it if you have a moment when you're on the iTunes podcasts to leave us a review and rating, because that does help everybody find us on iTunes. And for a lot more conversations from the world of women's sports, be sure to subscribe to us on your podcast app at Wisp Sports. Until the next time, thank you for listening and helping us turn up the volume on women's sports.